In this tutorial, we are going to be using your favorite TV show or cartoon, or even possibly your favorite album cover to create a sneaker design based on that album cover or favorite show. These are just some examples here as I kind of click through, get an idea of what we're talking about here. So you're going to use the graphics, colors, really the theme from whatever show you're picking to create that sneaker design. Now, since we don't have real sneakers to draw on here, we're going to do it all digitally, of course, and we'll do it inside of Photoshop. And we'll talk a little bit about it in class, but to get started, here's how you're going to begin. I'm going to be giving you a folder inside your classes folder. Inside this classes folder, you will see a number of images. They're all black line drawings, black and white, a little bit of gray in some of them. So as I kind of click through, you can see that there are literally a few hundred of them that I have. You're going to go through, you're going to find the one that you want. When you find the one that you like, I'm just going to use one of these as an example here. I'll use this one. All right. You're going to right click on it, open with Photoshop. Now, once it opens, go up to the top, go to Essentials, go to Reset Essentials at the top, and then do Command 0 or View Fit on Screen. Now from here we have to set up the file, so we're going to pull out the Layers panel. First step I want you to do on this background layer is go to Image, Adjustments, and Threshold. Now when this comes up, don't leave it as is. You can see it looks like there's some gaps in the black line. I want you to pull the slider to the right to get some of that black coming up. Now you want enough where you can see the stitching in the shoe, but not so much that it becomes black. So you got to kind of back it off a little bit. I typically do it, you see right here where like it just begins to start. I think this is probably too far. But you can kind of judge it and see. I'm going to say right about there is good. I'm going to hit OK. So I did 228, but everyone's is going to be different, and then hit OK. Now on here, you might see a couple of little specks. I see a speck here, 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 a couple of them. So what you'll do is just take the brush. If you see any of those, choose white as your color. So I'm going to choose a pure white. I'm going to then go over to the speck with a small brush and just get rid of it, get rid of a couple of little specks. All right, now once you have done that, our next step is going to be to use the Magic Wand tool. So make sure you have the Magic Wand tool selected. Up at the top, New Selection, Point Sample, Tolerance 30, Anti-aliasing on as well as Contiguous on. Then from there we are going to click on a piece of the shoe. It doesn't matter what you start with. I'm just going to click this piece here. And at that point, I'm going to right-click and do Layer via Copy. Not Cut, but Copy this time. Once you've done that, you'll see that it pops up onto its own layer. To make your life a little easier, be sure you change the word Layer 1, double-click it, and change it to whatever part of the sneaker it is. So if this is the, we can say front flap or front nose of shoe or whatever you want to call it. Just name it something so that you know what it's going to be. Now, if I hide the background, you can see there's that piece, right, on the front nose layer. I'm going to turn the background back on for a second. On the front nose, what I'd like you to do is click this first lock button. And what that will do, you can see there it says Lock Transparent Pixels. So that means that everything else except for that white piece will be locked. Now what we use that for is once we lock it with that transparent pixel lock, you go over to your brush, choose your color. Doesn't matter what color you start with right now. And you can see as I brush over here, nothing happens. But then here, it shows up. So if I was to make the brush much bigger, I'm going to hold the right bracket key, make it larger, and then throw it in. So you can see I've colored in that area. If I hide the background, you can see what you've got. So what you must do now is you must do that to each piece of the shoe. Any part that you know you're going to want to color in the same color, you could do together at the same time. For example, back to the background, Magic Wand tool again. So let's say that I want this piece, and this piece, and this piece, and this piece to all be the same. So I hit the Add button at the top or hold Shift on my keyboard. Click this piece, and this little piece there. Now once I've got those, I'm going to right-click, Layer via Copy again. So I'm going to call this In Between Stripes or something, okay? Then lock it with the Transparent Pixel button. Go back over to my brush, choose my color. This time I'll choose something different so you can see it. And I start to brush. So what you really want to do now is you want to do that for all of the pieces of the shoe. so that they all have their own layers on them. So I'm going to do it very, very quickly, but you understand the steps. If you have questions, ask me. And then we're going to move on to the second step, which is creating, or taking, I should say, your album cover and applying it to this. But you have to have all the shapes done first. So we go back to the background, magic wand, select an area. I'm going to choose both of these areas, right click, layer via copy, name it. I'm going to call it front tips. From there, we're going to hit that little transparent lock button, back to the brush, choose a color. I'm going to go blue on this one. Again, don't worry about the colors. We're going to change those later, but we're just breaking it up to begin. Magic wand tool. I'm going to get this whole base piece. You'll notice that in some spots, if it doesn't look like it's totally getting it, that's because there's some gaps here. And we can fix those, but you got to see me on an individual basis. I'm just going to copy it anyway. Lock the transparent pixels, take the brush again, change the color once again, zoom out, you can see what I'm doing there. That looks good. Back to the background, wand. So it's the same steps literally over and over and over and over again. Once you've got that good, I'm going to do the same thing. A couple more. I'll call this back flap, transparent pixel, grab the brush, background, magic wand, bottom piece, right click, copy, brush. I want to change that color. I don't want it to be exactly the same. Alright, so we're doing the same steps over and over. Last few here. I'm going to put all these being exactly the same color. And then, actually, no, I'm sorry. I'm just going to do these three stripes being the same color. Alright, so we'll call these stripes. Take the brush, choose our color again. Oh, see what happened? What did I forget? I forgot to hit the transparent lock button right up here. Now it will let me do it with no problem. Back to the background. I'm just going to do this last piece, I guess. And there's more. There's the back piece. There's the inside of the shoe. There's the laces. There's all that stuff. But just to save time, again, name it whatever you'd like. Lock it. Brush. Choose color. Fill it. Okay. Once you have all these pieces, now again, I'm not totally done, but once you have all those pieces complete, there's a bunch of stuff you can do. So for example, I'm going to go on to the front portion of the shoe here, the red portion, which is on this top layer. With that top layer, I can grab brushes. This is the first thing you can do. Brushes up at the top. Choose different sorts of brushes that you see. If you don't see enough of them here, you could always go up to the top corner. Go to any of these. Click on them. Click Append. And that will add them to the list here. And then once you have those, depending on which one you pick, right? Doesn't matter. You can go over to this thing, select a color, and you can start to paint. And you see that it only shows up, if I do it over here, nothing happens. It only shows up, I'm on this layer, the red layer, it only shows up inside. Got that? Now, I could also go over to my gradient tool here. I can choose a gradient at the top. I can choose one of these preset ones, or go up to the top corner, select others, hit Append, it adds those to the list. Or I can make my own by pulling back and forth, pulling down to make them disappear, clicking on the line, double clicking the color swatch, hitting OK, making my new one, hit OK, and then to apply it, I click and I drag. And that will apply it over the top of all of it, unless I change the blending mode. So if I change it to screen and I do the same thing, so you're not getting exactly the same look. Depending on which one you pick, you're going to get different looks each time. So that's something else to play with. Then on top of that, you can use the images from an album or cartoon or TV show, whichever you'd like. So what you're going to do is you're going to go online and find some images. So for example here, I found these two images, right? This one, and I found this one as well. Let's go back a bit. There we go. So what you're going to do now is you're going to take this and drag it into your folder. I'm going to drag it onto my desktop for now. And then once it's on the desktop, you're going to take that image. It's right here. You're going to right click, open with Photoshop. And just like you're used to from your collage, you're going to pull these two apart. Once you have them pulled apart, you're going to find the part of this that you want to use inside your sneaker. So really up to you. You can do little pieces at a time. So for example, I could take a selection tool like Quick Select. I could try to select out a portion like this. This isn't a great cutout, but for the purpose of the tutorial, it's fine, right? I'm just going to get this little piece. So I could take that piece. I could take the Move tool now. I could click, drag, and drop this right on to my image. Now once it's here, so I see it from far away, I can make a decision. Where do I want this to show up, right? Maybe in the back of the shoe, maybe in the front of the shoe. I don't know. I'm going to try to put it right here. I'm going to do Command-T, hold Shift and Option, make it a little bit smaller, pull it to this bottom corner. I'm going to place it right there. I might even make it a little smaller than that. Now, the real reason we're doing this project, besides the use of color, which we'll talk about more in class, is learning how to use clipping masks. So you see this layer, layer 3, has the head on it from the album. I'm going to take that and put it right above the back flap, which is that brown piece. So as long as it's right on top of the brown piece here, which is on back flap, I'm going to stay on this layer, right click, create clipping mask. And by doing that, you see that little arrow that comes up right there on layer 3. That's telling you that it's now put in or shoved into and only visible through whatever's on the back flap layer. So even if I move layer 1 with the Move tool, layer 3, I'm sorry, you see that it stays inside the back flap. Even if I resize it with Command-T, same thing, rotate it, all the same thing. So you can kind of put it in there. Now you can put more than that. So if I went here and I made a selection, let's say with the rectangular marquee tool, and I made a selection of this whole area, this little chunk right here, right? Now, as you had practiced, you can do layer via cut, that's fine, or you can drag it directly with the Move tool, take your selection, move it directly into the new file, and drop it. And then from here, it's floating on top right now. You can see it on layer 4. If I bring it under layer 3, it gets clipped in, and you could still move it. I could still do Command-T, free transform, kind of resize it a little bit, bring it over here, size it a tiny bit, that looks good. So it's like I brought it into that part. And what's nice about bringing it in is that now, like here, I have on layer 4, I have that piece, right? I can take that piece, copy that piece. Now I have 2, right? Layer 4, copy. Then you notice that layer 3 kind of popped out, so I can right click and clip that back in. This one, layer 4, copy, I'm going to bring it all the way over here. So you see it popped out? Where else could I use this in the image? Well, maybe I use it in the stripes. So I'm going to pull this above stripes, right click, clip, and then I can do Command-T and I could rotate this, resize it, and now I have those clouds popping through that one piece. You can still paint on top of it, you can still add whatever you'd like, so piece by piece you continue to put these things together. If I went back into the folder for a moment, grab the other one, drag that right in. Once it's in here, I decide where it's gonna go, right? What piece of it I'm gonna use. I'm gonna put it on the top of the front, right click, clip it, now it stays in here. Maybe resize it. And then you can go throughout the rest of the sneaker, coloring it in to make it fit your sneaker as best as you can, and of course giving the theme throughout the entire sneaker. You're going to make sure you do a file save as and save this. Just to show you a few examples of what this would look like. Let's see where we are here. This is like one example, right? Taking the album cover, applying it to the sneaker, using some of the pattern of the body as the main part of the sneaker, using some of the images and so. Each part as best you can. Try to really just give it an overall look. You can see these are examples of using very simplified versions to do like a YouTube sneaker, Facebook sneaker, Flickr sneaker, Twitter, and so on. Even these Martin Luther King ones. Get the idea. Grabbing different images from different places. Clipping mask, colors, dividing up the layers, everything we talked about in the beginning of the video. All right, any questions?